Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, located in Zone 6B in the state of New Jersey. And today we're going to plant up those tomato plants that I started only 30 days ago in the basement. And we're going to plant them into my winter rye here. The winter rye has produced a great amount of straw this year, so I have a nice ground cover over or mulch over my soil when I plant my tomato plants up. This is also part 3 of the winter rye series. Here we are the last week of June, and it's very late to plant them up, but we had a very cold, wet spring. So in the last 30 days, they might have done okay, but I waited, and I wanted to show that you can plant tomatoes later on, and the summer heat's coming on nicely. There's a couple techniques I'm going to use to make them survive. And the first thing we're going to do with all this beautiful straw, and we call this straw for the reason is that it is from something in the grain family, winter rye or oats or that way too. Anything else is usually called hay, and that hay is from something that's like alfalfa or grass. And then you have to be careful with that because there might be a lot of weed seeds in there also too. But with straw, it's a beautiful amendment to the soil. We had that living root in the ground over winter, and now we have this beautiful cut down straw that's going to give us a barrier between our soil and the sun and hold in moisture and keep our soil temperature hopefully around 80 degrees or less. And if it goes to 90 is okay, but we just have to water more in that particular situation. So the first thing I ever do, and hopefully you can see this on camera, this is a cattle panel trellis, and we're going to install that first before I plant my tomato plants up into the soil. So I have my 4 T-posts set in the ground because my cattle panel is 16 feet long. And also, there's a device out there. This is old. You can see the paint is fading already. But this is what you use. It's an empty pipe in the middle. Slide over the top, and ever so gently or hard as you want, hit it right in the ground, and it's all set. If you're going to do a lot of T-posts on your farm and your garden, it's worth the investment because using a hammer or sledgehammer kind of gets old and tiring after a while. Plus, this is a lot more safe too. Just take your cattle panel fence, lean it up against the fence post or T-post. Place your foot on the bottom to kind of hold it in place. And what these are nice aluminum ties, totally reusable, better than plastic tie wraps. We put that on the top, make sure the hook is facing downwards, bend around, then loop, and then bend over once again and around. And then it's secure and will last a lifetime. I really enjoy using these cattle panels on the farm. In my case, over the summertime, in the next, say, 3 months when the tomatoes are growing here, we usually get winds at probably 25 miles an hour. And if I don't have something strong, they're gonna just topple over or crimp the stem, and I'm gonna lose tomato plants. So I start with a strong structure first. Now, everybody has their, let's say, ideas about how to trellis or use string or cages. I just find it, again, on my farm with a lot of wind, and that can cause damage in just 1 hour to those tomato plants. Having a strong structure to start with is amazing. And also, too, I want to share this with you. When growing tomato plants, this is only 50 inches tall, and that probably will grow another, let's say, foot above that, and I don't want anything to go beyond that. I actually let the suckers grow on my tomato plants, so I get a lot of set fruit lower to the ground, and I believe that's better. Because if you have a tomato plant that's 8 feet tall, you don't get any credit for it. It's not going to produce more, and actually you're going to have more problems, like I said, with wind damage. And I want to bring this up, and someone told me a long time ago also too, it's not best to grow tomato plants tall. It all started in greenhouses when they started using strings, and they would just bring that foliage up, and they can easily pick the fruit or the tomatoes lower to the ground, and removing leaves also. I will not remove leaves on these plants either. Now, growing that plant 8 feet tall, you have to understand also too, it's going to use more water, and it's also going to be not good when it get into a drought situation. And you're going to have to get out there, and also with that fruit set up higher, that lack of water is going to give you other problems with that plant, because it's got to travel up 8 feet to the top of the plants to keep those leaves alive. So something to think about, just a little tip, it's just not worth it sometimes. So I'm going to plant my tomato plants that are 2 feet apart on my trellis here. Now, going into the ground, we're starting off in a drought this year already. So we're just gonna clean this off here. I'm gonna show you, move some of this straw away. Now, watch when I dig into the ground. It's still somewhat soft because all those roots are in that ground from my winter rye. And you can see how dry that is. It is completely bare and dry, but it's easy to dig in still. And you can see all the roots. That's your organic matter that's doing very nicely there to allow me to get into that soil still. So we're gonna just dig a hole the same size as our pot here, maybe a little bit bigger. Now again, best time to transplant is at nighttime. I'm doing this during the day so I can demonstrate to you, and I'll come out later on. Now I don't want to go too deep. And you can see how barren that soil is. Now we just, again, you can go back in the other video. We have just coconut coir here that holds that moisture in nicely, and I have worm casting on top, and that's the only thing I did. And you can just see I'm just going to plant it the same height. I'm not going to go deeper. If I have to and the drought comes more and it's not doing well with the straw, I can always mound my tomato plants up higher with soil or organic matter like leaf mold, and then we'll send out roots from the side there. So right now I'm just going to put it in at the same depth. Now I also do is I just kind of go down the line here because I don't want these roots to kind of circle around too much. And I just kind of break them off a little bit, not causing too much damage. And that's it. And I'll fill the soil back in, and it's all set to go. I'm just going to crush the soil up a little bit, add it to the top. Just give a little press in there like so. Make sure you do it. Now, this is a good point here. One nice thing about the straw is that you can set it around the plant like so, and see how the leaves, if it falls over, those leaves are not going to hit the ground at all. Let me get some more here. And that's what's nice about this. You can make your temporary trellis ahead of time, supporting those leaves upwards. And also too, it won't allow that flimsy plant. We have it has naturalized or hardened off nicely, but still if we get a good windstorm, it will flop back and forth, and I don't want to put something on it right now to hold it in place. So if you just build up your straw, and you can take it down the next couple days, and see how nice that works, and it'll keep that plant nice and healthy. Also, another benefit of using straw, you can place a barrier in front, because when you plant your tomato plants in the summer heat, you can shade it also with that barrier, and that straw makes a perfect barrier. It doesn't allow the plant to get too heat. It gives you still good air circulation, and it will protect that plant. You only need to do it for about 2 to 3 days until that plant can acclimate to the soil. And again, give it a nice drink of water. Now I'm not going to water the foliage right now because it's about 97 degrees out Fahrenheit. So I'm going to go right to the base, and you can't see it's behind here. And I'm going to just water around the base of the plant, probably in a 2-foot diameter, so all that ground is nice and saturated. Because if you just water close to the plant, the regular water is going to just be taken away by the other dry soil around it. So just go around the plant at least 2 feet in diameter from that single stem there. I'm going to be talking a lot about tomato plants this year. There is so many options and advice about how to do things. Some I agree with and some I don't. If you can leave in the comments below something that you've seen that is just totally bizarre towards tomato plants, maybe using Epsom salt, whether you like it or not, whether you think it works or not, I'm going to give you my opinion about that. There is probably so many hacks towards a tomato plant. I'm going to say it's the most controversial plant of how giving advice to actually plant it up in your garden. Nobody agrees on one type of method, and that's good because again, it's your own garden and your enjoyment is the pure fact that you should get out of your garden. You should enjoy gardening. It's not a competition with your neighbor. It's not a competition with me. If anything, I want you to enjoy gardening because when you start doing that, then you're the best gardener on the planet. I will see you again shortly with another video. Give it a thumbs up. I will talk to you again shortly. Enjoy.